Welcome to the second part of Shin Bros, the podcast miniseries where we discuss the trilogy of the Shin films, because technically Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0 is part of it, but who cares? I'm your host, Buster Corp, and with me is the wonderful, the ultra, dare I say, Wasp Ranger, Wyatt.
I'm Wyatt, and I go into an out-of-body state whenever I drink sugar-free Red Bull.
Ooh. So right now we're getting into territory that Wyatt has not been in. So I've seen all the films, but Wyatt has not seen these last two films we're covering.
Yes. I've not seen Shin Ultraman, and I've not seen Shin Kamen Rider, though I obviously wanted to watch both of them. Because I was a big fan. If you've listened to the previous episode, big fan of Shin Godzilla. And it was just a timing was just kind of all screwy on these, and in general, like, I've had a hard time working up to watch movies that aren't for a podcast, basically. Like, just watching stuff on my own to enjoy it has been kind of hard for the past year for various reasons, but I'm glad that I finally had an excuse to watch this, because not to cut too far ahead or get right into it or whatever, but I thought it was an excellent movie. So.
Yeah, I mean, I said this last episode. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. It is. Great. I don't want to jump too ahead. I said it's my favorite movie of all time last time, but it's definitely in the top 5 circulating, and it's definitely a movie I've rewatched a lot and thought about a lot.
Yeah.
I guess we can get into some production shit.
Yeah, we can talk about our history with Ultraman.
Yeah. I almost forgot. What's our history with Ultraman? Wyatt, you go first.
Okay, so I was old enough. That's so weird to say. That my first exposure to Ultraman was through the Tiga dub on Fox Kids or whatever. That was the first time that I had seen Ultraman and knew what it was, and then it was a little bit after that, a few years after that, that there was the first. It might not have been Mill Creek, it might have been some other production company that released the entire original series of Ultraman on DVDs, and then you could find those at Walmart for $8 or whatever. They're very cheap. And then watching that, I was like, whoa, it's like Godzilla, but it's a show. At this point, I had no idea that Eiji Tsuburaya had worked on the Godzilla movies before making Ultraman, nor that Ultra Q existed or anything like that. And then it wasn't until Ginga came out that I became somebody who was actually paying attention to and watching Ultraman, the shows, though not for super long. I really only watched Ginga. I did not watch Ginga S. But then
you're not missing much.
Yeah, and then X, and then a little bit of Orb, and then after that point, it kind of in fits and starts. I watched the first couple episodes of Rube. I watched a little bit of the Z, is that the one?
Z.
Yeah. Whatever. And just in general, it's probably of the bigger Toku franchise stuff, TV Toku, it's the one that I'm the least familiar with, just because I've only watched the original series and then a few of the new gen stuff. Though I've bought every single DVD that has come out. All the releases in
I think we just call that hoarding.
Yes, so I have all the original up through Ultraman 80, and then the Ultraman, and then the 90s.
Yeah, the Heisei stuff.
Yeah, ones, and then the Blu-rays, like the new gen Blu-rays. Though I think there's a few that I might be missing, like if like Mebius or Cosmos or whatever, or like I don't know if those have gotten releases.
Yeah, everything's been released at this point, so yeah, you're missing Mebius and Cosmos. Those are chunky sets. Yeah, I do have them. I got the Mebius set as a gift. It's a really nice set.
Cool. Yeah, and I didn't get. It's not Ultraman, but I didn't get Gridman because of the controversy around the subtitles. Yeah. Around that, I was just like, no.
I bite the bullet on Gridman. They're okay subs, but they're not like what they should be.
They feel it's funny that like that happened a few years before ChatGPT became like a thing, and it feels very similar to that, where it feels like just sort of like cheapo kind of subtitles that it's but yeah, so like I would say, as far as my personal experience goes, it's not super deep with Ultraman, though it does go back far, but like thematically and everything, and like stylistically, I have a huge respect for Ultraman. And I've talked about in the Shin Godzilla episode that I love stories about kaiju that are from a perspective that's like sympathetic towards like giant monsters or like aliens or outsiders and things like that, and I know Ultraman usually like chops monsters in half or blows them up, but there's plenty of stories like in the original Ultraman, for example, about like the sympathy for the monsters, and the like the act of like killing them or defeating them isn't like anger or aggression. It's like, we have to stop this thing from being a danger to itself and others. Like that stuff is great. And I think that this movie like totally follows up on all of those themes and everything. So that's my history. What about you? You're definitely way more knowledgeable.
I've done so many videos on Ultraman at this point, like more than 10. I've watched basically every New Generation show. I've watched the TGG trilogy, Tiga, Dyna, Gaia. Gaia's my favorite Ultraman, period. I love Gaia so much.
Yeah, I want to check that out. That's still in plastic wrap on my shelf. No, so maybe Gaia at some point I'll play it.
Legitimately like one of my favorite shows ever. I've seen a couple Showa, specifically Ultra 7 and Return of Ultraman. Which, hey, Return of Ultraman's kind of topical for who's making the movie, Hideaki Anno. Yeah, because he loves Return of Ultraman so much that he made a fan film about it. Yeah. Return of Ultraman's solid. It kind of falls off towards the end, but like, it's still a fun show. Yeah, but I honestly the way it was introduced to Ultraman was a bit weird. It was like just when I was starting to get into like the bigger Toku stuff. I always knew Toku existed, but it wasn't until like the X-Aid Kyuranger days where I was like, I want to get into this. Like, I know how to watch these shows now. And then like G'd was airing on Crunchyroll. Which was like, okay.
Oh yeah, I watched a good amount of G'd too. Yeah,
G'd is really good. G'd was basically my gateway drug into this. And like, it took me a while to become a fan. Like, afterwards, I had to like catch up, like watch Rube, which is another one of my favorites. I really dig Rube, man. I know it's like kind of a controversial take, but like Rube, really good. Check it out.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, and I just kind of spiraled from there as I kept watching more and more Toku. So yeah, I do have like a massive respect for Ultraman as like a science fiction series, because I feel like out of all the Toku series, like I am confidently calling it a sci-fi classic.
Yeah. But yeah, it feels more so in that, because like I would not really call definitely not Super Sentai, but like Kamen Rider is like barely at this point science fiction. I mean, it kind of was, in the sense that it's like very similar to superhero stuff from that time period, and it's about a robot guy and he's fighting other like things that are like artificial creatures.
Yeah, I think the last season to really like delve into science fiction themes, for better or worse, was 01.
Yeah, 001. Yeah, that's the thing, is that they it's kind of like it depends on which show at this point. Because like when I think of like iconic Kamen Rider, which we should really talk about in the Shin Kamen Rider episode, but whatever, we're on this tangent already. But I was just gonna say that with like Black is definitely more so in the occult sort of like demon magic, that kind of stuff, and then Kuga is like ancient civilizations, trying to be more fantastical, though with a grounded realism to it. And then, eventually it just gets stuff like, would you consider X-Aid sci-fi? I don't know.
Not in the way we all consider sci-fi, but Ultraman is very
Ultraman
much...
is like coherent thematically, like it is in genre-wise. It like feels like every show you're kind of getting. I mean, you it's the same with all of them, but like Ultraman definitely is more so like you're gonna get a guy who turns big and fights kaiju. And there's going to be a few new ones, but then a bunch of them will be like, that's that guy from that one show from 50 years ago.
Yeah, it is a budget-saving thing, but it does make everything more cohesive. And, like, I do like how, like, basically every Ultraman design, like, is still cohesive, even, like, the newer shit. Like, where it's like, even though it has all these flashy lights on Blazar, that's still an Ultraman,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was funny seeing this and thinking about it as like from that perspective of like the children that are fans of Ultraman, and like are so used to like the new gen stuff, and then they're given like Shin Ultraman is like very simple and really weird looking.
Yeah,
it's like
I guess we could start with his design. They removed the color timer mainly because. I'm trying to think. What? Concept art. It was the concept art. They removed it because of original concept art. Ultraman did not have the color timer, so they decided, hey, let's pay homage to that by just removing the color timer from this.
Yeah, it's kind of like how the modern Looney Tunes show has Bugs Bunny with yellow gloves, because it's like, at one point in the past his gloves were yellow instead of white, and it's like. It looks weird and it's distinct, but it's technically more faithful to like the original intent of the design than, the way that it is now that we just know. So like, I think they do a pretty good job of mixing the like weird, uncanny creepiness of like the very first Ultraman from like the first few episodes.
Yeah. Especially the opening scene, like the opening fight.
Yeah, and then they're able to mix that with like, throughout the first series, they like revised the suit and then made it more like what we would imagine Ultraman to look like. They did a good job like combining that. And I think that even though this is definitely more so Shinji Higuchi than Anno.
Anno still worked on the script, but Higuchi directed it.
Yes, but I think it's important to point out that Higuchi was still a part of Eva, so making an Eva comparison not completely out of the question, because the proportions, like the lanky proportions to him, very much like the Eva units in Evangelion.
I actually remember when we first saw like the picture of Shin Ultraman for the first time, like what it would look like. He was just standing there menacingly. Yeah, and it was just like it was like very fascinating. It's like, how are they gonna do that? And like the mocap work is really good in this movie. Like I'd say the mocap work, because this isn't a physical suit, much like Shin Godzilla, but like they still got like actual suit actors to help mocap it. Hell, Anno mocap the first Spectrum beam when Ultraman first arrives on Earth. Also, like when we're still on designs, I love how the mouth of when Ultraman arrives at Earth represents the first helmet Ultraman has, where it's like it's a bit crunkled lips.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That is so.
That's
cool.
what I was saying. They did a good job, like mixing all of, like referencing all the parts of it.
Yeah,
like throughout.
Speaking of references, the movie opens with an entire like, here's Ultra Q in 1 minute.
Yeah, yeah, and also the like actual title sequence I was like, I laughed out loud when
because
Shin Godzilla showed up, and then it burst to Ultraman just like it did with the Ultra Q opening turning into Ultraman.
Yeah,
like, and then
that honestly like works like just as beyond a reference, because this movie is like evolving from what Shin Godzilla did, or it's like it still deals with corporate bureaucracy of how we respond to these threats. You still have that exciting camera work. You still like during talking scenes.
And there's a lot of it feels more. I think see Shin Godzilla. I love Shin Godzilla. Again, listen to the previous episode, but it can be a very overwhelming and sometimes unpalatable movie because of it's just constantly talking, and there's so much like dialogue that can go over your head. And so many decisions are being made so quick, and that's the point. It's like a very anxiety-inducing movie. But this is like a little bit pulled back because it's less about one situation that's spiraling out of control and getting worse and worse, and more so about humanity, or Japan specifically, becoming used to like a cycle of disasters that just like are happening to them every so often.
And at that point, it's a great sequel, like, thematically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And, like, it does a good job pacing the dialogue and everything, where it still feels similar to Shin Godzilla, but, like, there's more time to breathe. The characters are a bit more distinct in this movie, and...
Yeah, like, they're an SSP. Like, they're defense... Yeah. They are, even, like, they don't, like, pull out like jetpacks or something. They are they still have their distinct personalities. You still got the nerdy guy, you still got the like sciencey woman. Yeah, I'm sorry I forgot their names, but to be fair, I don't remember the names of most Ultraman defense teams. I just like they're still fun characters. There's so many of them.
Yeah, I think it's a cool move that they did make them all distinct character, just like with Shin Godzilla. They didn't go like, oh, it's Dr. Serizawa, and he makes the oxygen destroyer in order to beat the... No, they came up with a new cast and a new solution to deal with that, and then same thing here. They're just like basing this world and these characters off of Ultraman, but like Shin Hayashida and like those don't exist. You know, like this is a different world, and like things are...
Is he still called Shin Hayato? No, he's called Shinji Kaminagi.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like he's not in the movie.
Yeah.
Like,
because I thought the names were still the same, but no, it's a complete reimagining.
It is. That's what I'm saying. Is like in just like with Shin Godzilla, it was like they didn't just reuse those characters from the original 1954 movie. They went ahead and like just winged it. They didn't reuse the same. Even this, like we can kind of jump around here. We're not going to talk about it in like a linear order, just like with Shin Godzilla. But like the conclusion of the movie, like the way that they beat Zeton is different from the way that they beat him at the end of the original Ultraman.
It's a complete reimagining, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
And also, like, speaking of pacing, there's some people that have criticized about this and the next movie of the Shin movies, where it's like they're episodes and people would rather just a big one plot. But I don't agree, because they're based on TV shows, so it's like I think like having these episodes flow in is much more fun than having like one big threat.
And more unique, and it's a diversity of tones.
Yeah.
It's just a more engaging style because it's less common, especially in like Hollywood. Like with Shin Godzilla, the biggest, most climactic moment happens an hour into a 2-hour movie, and then there's another like 45 minutes of planning for the finale. Like it escalates to a point, and then there's like a severe slowdown, but it's still like an engaging movie because like the stakes are still rising despite the action like slowing down after that point.
Yeah, but here the action's always escalating because it is an action show, like, so it's like
Yeah, and when it gets to the point where, like he's able to easily defeat the kaiju, but then once the extraterrestrials start showing up, it's like each one, like Zarab is like it's hard to take care of for multiple reasons, and then the Mephiles is like just straight up stronger than him. Like he wasn't able to beat him, and the only reason that you had to dip was seeing Zoffy be like, well, getting the hell out of here. And like that puts you in this mode where when the finale is kicking off with Zeton being built, you're like, dear God, we're doomed. Like, if you feel doomed, like you feel like if Ultraman can't beat this thing that was afraid of the thing that's being built right now, then what hope do any of us have? Like, it puts you in there in the shoes of the characters and everything. Even if, like, you know it's all going to turn out all right because it's an Ultraman movie, it just, like, brings you to that place in, like, a very realistic way, which is great.
Yeah, and like go back onto the point of the episodes. I think they flow. The stakes flow naturally to each other because in the Zerub episode, like, he exposes Shinji's identity to the like world, so it's like, oh well, gotta get into hiding, and then like that leads into Mephiles doing shit, and then then Mephiles gets scared of Zophie, which leads to Zophie like doing this big doomsday plan. Yeah, I'll talk about Zophie more later.
Yeah, we can talk about that a little
but
bit
like,
later.
like, here's another aesthetic detail: the way Ultraman rises in this film, like the Ultraman, you know the Ultraman rise where he has his arm out and he does a little pose, like as he like transforms. And I love how they're all so different. Like in this film, each rise is so different, which leads to the more classical rise that ultimately wins the day at the end. I just think that's neat.
I mean, the coolest one to me was, like, the hand coming out of the ground and, like, grabbing him and then, like, rising up.
Yeah.
Like, that was so cool.
Yeah, that's one of the coolest ones, yeah. Because it's it feels like someone should have done it by now, but they haven't. So it's like...
Yeah. But, like, man, there is a good amount of monsters that they put in this movie. That was the one thing I was afraid of, was, like, how many... And a lot of them are in that, like, little intro section where they're just like, yeah, here's the monsters that we dealt with. And, you know, and I like that, like, yeah, a couple of them were, all right, we're dealing with them. We're able to, like, handle them ourselves. So it's, like, setting up the idea that, like, humanity is capable of dealing with these kaiju, but... when they start getting progressively stronger, like, that's when Ultraman has to step in, and then that's, like, the problem that the other aliens have is that, like, Ultraman is, like, a crutch to humanity and is, like, pushing them along and, like, encouraging their growth too much, and they could, like, spin out of control and everything. And, like, so there has to be this balance that's struck where Ultraman can be a protector and a beacon of hope, but he can't, like, remove the agency from humanity. Like, he has to work alongside them rather than that feels very true to the like the conclusion of the original series. So it's like, it feels like they did a really good job translating the themes that were present in a show like that old into this one, you know. Like, it's like, some people do like to look at some older toku and sort of just say, like, oh, this is whatever. It was just about punching monsters. Who cares about the story or the characters or the themes or whatever? They didn't start caring about that stuff until recently.
Why? There's always been themes. It's just been told in different ways. It's like, they're usually underlying messages. Like, they're not like... Like, it's usually... Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say that because it was a sci-fi show from, like, the 60s, and currently I'm watching through a lot of Doctor Who with my other podcast partner, Cody, and, of course, I'm a big Star Trek fan. Like, yeah, it just puts me in mind of all that stuff where it's like, every episode is its own story with its own, like, characters and themes and everything, but there's underlying themes that are universal across all of it, and, like, usually the worst Star Trek episodes are ones that completely ignore those, you know. Like, a lot of the stuff in, like, early TNG is just, like, so unbearable to watch because like the characters are unlikable. There's situations that they're in just don't feel very Star Trek. I mean, that's a problem that people have with like modern or the before Strange New World and people like it again, like Discovery and stuff. People are like, it's just like violent and dark. We want like a positive.
I think like Picard season 1 and 2 is what you're referring to.
Yeah, Picard and Discovery and stuff were like, those were just so dark and depressing, and like,
I guess it's commendable that Ultraman like has still managed to keep its like optimistic tone and like recurring themes even through the new generation stuff. It's still managed to be for all ages. I think that's a wonderful thing. I want to talk about this because I feel like a lot of people scoff at like things meant for quote unquote kids or all ages. But like no, it's like even if this film is a bit more mature than the average Ultraman show, like it's still a movie for that anyone can enjoy, and I think that's beautiful. Like anyone can get something out of this, and I just feel like more people need to be like, oh, it's like either like they shouldn't babyfy or they shouldn't like over maturify things. Just like take it for what it is, you know?
Yeah. For me, like, I watch a lot of children's shows, a lot of these Toku series, as well as like cartoons and stuff like that. And to me, like, I've always said this especially with like animation, though it's becoming less true as time goes on, which is nice. But I feel like that you get a very diverse palette of stories and tones with stuff meant for children because they're allowed to be serious and unserious at the same time. Whereas like adult shows, it's usually like you're either watching a comedy or you're watching a drama. And it's very rare for the two things to mix together. Like sometimes you get some more dramatic episodes of comedies and vice versa. But with Toku, especially, like the tone can change like in an episode. It can go from like think about the Christmas episodes of X-Aid. Where you have the like poppy Christmas dancing and singing and everything, and then Kyria dies at the end of the episode. It's like that's the perfect summation of what I love about tokusatsu is the like the variety of tone and the ability to like embrace this like sincere mode of like, we don't really care about making something that feels like very strict. I won't even say like, because I think it is still coherent. It's just one style is a little bit more straight-laced and strict, and then the other style it's a little bit more loosey-goosey, and I appreciate that.
Shin Ultraman's kind of a good medium between the two, because it starts off like very Shin Godzilla-esque, but then once Ultraman comes in, you get more jokes, more lightheartedness, more optimism, and I think it's it's a good bridge between like the kid and adult audiences.
One of the big set pieces, like halfway through the movie, is like that lady getting turned giant with the like beta capsule, and then like her being upset afterwards because there's a bunch of like videos like that people like normal just like Twitter nonsense, but then other people like posting it to like giantess fetish websites or whatever, and then like
Zerub just deletes it. No. Was it Zerub or Mephiles?
No, it's Mephiles because he's the one.
I always
with
get those two mixed up a bit.
Because it's like it's back to back and it's like very similar. But Mephiles, he's the one that like he was using the beta capsule or the beta like the smaller or the bigger version of it.
Yeah,
I demonstrating its power on her. Yeah, whereas like Zerub, he was more like, actually, we should fucking kill Ultraman and make him a bad guy, and and his like goal was to like annihilate humanity, whereas like
Mephiles wanted to manipulate humanity.
Yeah, but which is again, it's cool that they have that like the differences there, and like it ending with like the Zoffy just like all right, this is too scary, so we got to wipe them out. And they're like shooting like a supernova like bomb at the Earth that will like wipe out the entire solar system.
That's a great point to bring up the music, because Shiro Sakusu, he does an amazing job on the score for this movie. It's like you don't just
Yeah.
get remixes of the 66 tracks, you get like amazing new like orchestra tracks. I especially love the last track, Is Humanity to Die. That is one of my favorite songs in anything ever. Like it is like the way it syncs up in the scene and is just as a song on its own. Oh, it's so good. I love the music in Shin Ultraman.
Yeah, the Shiro Sagetsu, just an excellent composer in general. You know, like obviously great, like the songs in Shin Godzilla. Like that choir, that guy that they have like doing the like baritone choir and everything. Like I made a joke about the out of body states.
Yeah.
That song in that moment is like so. I was like losing my mind how good it was.
You were going in an out of body state.
Yeah, just the fight with Mephiles and just like I keep pronouncing it like the Sonic 06 character, but whatever. It's basically the same thing. But just like the entire fight is so good. It's so like it's just like very climactic, and like I said, it like sets the tone perfectly for the finale, where like he couldn't even beat this guy, and now there's like a gigantic space station doomsday device that's gonna blow up the entire solar system, and like having to fight that is like completely impossible. Like it just feels like a completely impossible task for Ultraman, and it feels very like it's just set up very well there. And there's a song during that sequence too, Original Sin, which is like that's very similar to like the Shin Godzilla songs, where it has this like very like epic tone to it, and a lot of like religious wording and everything to all that's going on to make it feel like a larger than life
and like
event.
I'd say the same thing goes for Is Humanity to Die. Okay, I've actually like I guess we could talk about the ways you could watch the film, because I think this is an interesting topic. Now, I watched the first two watches. No, my second and third watches were actually at movie theaters. I went to a film festival in October of 2022 to watch the film. I already watched a quote-unquote online copy beforehand, but I wanted to go see it on the big screen. And then I watched the Phantom event in January. Both of them was like, oh, that was insane to watch that shit like in a theater. But the way you can watch it now is there's a couple Blu-ray releases, but the one I'm gonna recommend, and the one you should do, because the Cleopatra Blu-ray is not great. The Raven Banner Blu-ray from Raven Banner, the Shin Ultraman, has great custom artwork, great custom slipcover, has some cool bonus features. The film looks amazing. Has both the English dub and the original Japanese sub. There's an English dub for this movie. It's pretty solid. It has a couple of voice actors you might recognize from video games and shit. And it's just a really nice package. It is a bit more than the Cleopatra one, but you're paying for quality, I'd say. And it's region free. It comes from a Canadian company, but you can play it on any Blu-ray player. So I'd highly recommend the Raven Banner release if you want to own this film, which I do. It is a wonderful package. It's a wonderful film.
For me, I use the magical website of Nya to acquire this movie. You can't say that shit.
No, bleep that out in the edit. Bleep that out in the edit.
But I absolutely do support. I mean, I have Shin Godzilla on Blu-ray, so I definitely will get this in Shin Kamen Rider.
If they make a Blu-ray of Shin Kamen Rider, because currently it's only on Amazon Prime.
That's God, I gotta whatever. Yeah, it is for that too. But yeah, well, I was gonna say with Shiro Sagetsu, how familiar are you with like Gunbuster?
I still need to watch it. It's been on my list for a while.
I did not. I thought maybe he was a composer on Gunbuster just because there's a song. I think it's before the fight with Zara where he's rising out of the ground that has the like dun 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 dun. Like there's like drums. That it's very similar to the Buster March, and I know that was an Anno OVA. He did not work on it though, but of course, like Nadia and Ava and Karakano, which is secretly, I've been told by by friend of the show Toby Jones that Karakano is like secretly the best show that Ano worked on. So
I'll be the judge of that.
Yes, I have it on DVD and I watched the first couple episodes and I thought it was extremely good, but I definitely want to watch more of it at some point just because of that high recommendation from somebody. Like, I don't know anybody else who likes Ava more than Toby, and he likes this more than Ava. So that's why I'm like, you know. But anyway, just want to say, Shiosagisu, great. I love you. You're such a good, like all the songs just kick ass. Yeah. And the, like the moment the like guitar kicks in during the fight with Mephilos is just, so good. Yeah, and there's like so many little moments in that fight, like when they like parry each other with a kick, you know, and just like even though it is CG, the mocap is really good. Like it feels like they put a lot of effort into that, and it still has.
They had a bit more time to polish the effects because this was a victim of COVID like delays. Mm-hmm. It was supposed to come out, I think, 2021 or 2020 in general, but it got delayed because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So that makes sense because
it's weird that Shin Godzilla was 2016, and then Shin Ultraman was 6 years later, and then Kamen Rider was 1 year after that. So it's like, and I know it's because like they came out in close proximity, because,
and also because Ava 3.0 plus 1.0 took a bit.
That is true. Like that was in the gap. But what was it? Ano was for Kamen Rider, and then Shinji Higuchi was for Shin Ultraman. Like he was the director.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting hearing your thoughts on Shin Kamen Rider, because that's the only Shin Heroes project that Higuchi has no involvement in whatsoever.
Oh, that does make sense because it feels like he's more of a giant monster guy, rather than a fight choreography, kaijin, on the ground, that kind of stuff. And like even then, like I am pretty interested because Ano also like he's a big he's an Ultraman guy and likes big machines and big weighty fights. I mean, look at that fight in End of Ava with Unit 2 versus the mass-produced units. Like, that's some of the most beautifully done, like, weighty fight animation I've ever seen between, like, giant creatures fighting each other. I will say that there's some aspects of, like, the presentation that I respect, but could be like a little bit cooler, where like there's just some moments where it is trying to be like, all right, we're evoking
the spin series.
That's cool. That's cool as fuck.
Okay.
That's
I was
that's not
that words if you had problems.
Yeah. No. I mean, there's a moment specifically like at the end when he is trying to fight with Zeton and he's like throwing the circle little saw blades. And it's just the same shot held on him, like, trying multiple times, throwing it at him. And it's like, could have had a few more shots in there, like different angles, like shot, reverse shot, something like that, rather than just the single, like, behind the back, him just trying over and over again. Like, that feels like that's trying to be evocative of the 60s show. And it's, again, I respect it, but you're really trying to drive like the desperation of the situation up and get into like, this is like the moment where Ultraman is supposed to be the most vulnerable and most human, and it's a very distant moment, like filming wise. So like, but that's such a minor gripe. It's just like little things like that here and there that I feel like sometimes it works very well, but then like a time like that, I felt like that it could have been. Especially because of how good and like stylish the editing is otherwise, and like the camera angles and everything. Like there's a camera angle in a bag of chips at one point.
Yeah, and it's
with
good. Honestly, like I keep thinking, oh man, this could be annoying if not done right, but it's done right, so it's like
yeah. Oh yeah, I am immensely pleased with this because, like, as somebody who hasn't seen too much Ultraman stuff, this is probably my favorite, like, single Ultraman thing that I have watched. And I'm very, I don't know, like, it makes me want to go onto my DVD shelf, especially now that I've real life context for those listening, just moved to a new home, living on my own, thumbs up, a bachelor lifestyle, but now I'm just going to my living room, sit in my big comfy chair, put a Blu-ray into the Blu-ray player, aka my PS5, and bam, just watch through some Ultraman, See, I do support the official release when possible. so I'll get the.
That's the key word.
Yeah, I'll get the new Blu-ray for Shin Ultraman that you recommended.
Yeah.
So because that's the thing. Okay. And again, this whole tangent about piracy, but people that like want to watch something, they usually also want to support something. Like, if you're gonna go out of your way to like get it by any means possible, you're going to also, like, when an official version of it comes out, you're gonna want to get it. Like, I watched all of Geats for $0, but I'm going to buy the Blu-ray of that when it comes out because I want to own the show. So, and I also want them to make more of that. They should release, like, Saber and Revice. I don't care.
Do it for me.
I don't even care how good those shows are. Whatever. Just why go from 01 to Geats and just skip over 2 entire shows? Like, that just seems so silly to me. I mean, I guess they kind of did that with going from Kuga to Ryuki as well. So
yeah, but that was like when we thought they were testing out. We can talk about this in the Shin Kamen Rider.
Yeah, whatever. We'll relitigate this next week. But anyway,
Ultraman good. You can watch most of it legally in the America.
Yeah.
Literally, there's only one show left that you can't watch, but you can watch the movie of it. So,
what show is that?
Ultraman Taiga from 2019. You just can't watch that in America. I don't know why.
That's so weird. That's so annoying. The freaking... Yeah. I hate it when there's just in general, like, these...
missing gaps.
The missing gaps in the release schedule and everything. Just so annoying. I hope eventually with, like, Shout Factory we do get like, in terms of, like, Sentai and stuff. Like, I really do hope they keep going.
Yeah,
like,
it's been a while. I know they're still sorting things out with Hasbro. They're like, we are still working on shit. We just, like, Hasbro licensing is just
Yeah, because the most recent one they did was Deca Ranger.
Yeah.
And then... so after that would be Maji Ranger, which is not one I'm very excited about, but I'd be willing to give a second chance, Same thing with Boukenger. Like, I wasn't crazy about that when I first watched that, like, as a kid. But now that I'm a little bit older and more grizzled, and now that Boon Boomger is, like, in my brain, I'm like, maybe vehicles are cool,
Yeah, but here's hoping for more cool U.S.
Yeah,
and, like,
more of that stuff. But
countries.
Ultraman, it's so... good for Ultraman fans, like, in the West.
We got English dubs of the new shows that are actually good.
Yeah, they're like on YouTube. You can watch, like, and the shows are so cheap. Like the Gaia, Dinah, and Tiga. Those are like $15 to, like, get those because they're DVDs. But, like,
they're still high quality DVDs. I can confirm. Like, outside of the movies and specials, they don't really compromise the video quality.
Yeah, I feel like with that early digital stuff, it's like I would rather have, like, Ultraman shot on film, like classic Ultraman in Blu-ray, rather than, like, I don't necessarily need, like, that 90s stuff, like, in the absolute best quality. I mean, the quality for the Sentai DVDs, frankly, are terrible because the Toei transfers are very bad.
Thanks, Toei.
Yeah, which is true for many things, including Dragon Ball. But hey, but yeah, the Ultraman, like, just in general, like, if you're unsure about the series but you like this movie, Like, it's so easy to just pick that up. I do recommend going and watching the original series, and you don't have to watch it all. It's not like a epic story that unravels over the course of 39 episodes. You can just be like, this monster looks cool, and watch an episode.
Yeah.
Though I do recommend you watch it, just watch through it because it's a lot of fun. And it's just like, that and like Ultra 7 and all this stuff, like very available, nice and cheap. You can get them at Walmart.
Not anymore.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, you could in like 5 years ago. You could have gotten them at Walmart. But yeah, it was just like Ultraman. Thankfully, is just a very easy to get into show in terms of like, even if you don't want to pirate it, like you can find the DVDs and everything like for pretty cheap on Amazon or other places.
Yeah, and it's on Tubi.
Yeah.
Which had a terrible redesign recently.
Oh, really? Yeah.
The yellow piss bar. That's all I'll say.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Which sucks, because I like using Tubi to watch classic Doctor Who and shit. Oh, man. What?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that is true. That's what I use it mostly for these days. And watching 25 Dawn dish soap ads between episodes of Doctor Who. But yeah, so is there anything else that, oh, wait, no, I'm not hosting the episode. You are hosting
the episode. But, like, is there anything else you want to say, Wyatt?
I mean, we talked about the, like, monsters are cool. There's some redesigns, which are pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, the Zeton is quite different from what it was.
They make the Zeton more mechanical. Like.
Yeah, and it is, like, it feels very similar to, like, an angel from Evangelion, where it's like this weird, like, abstract, non-Euclidean, like, destruction device. Whereas, like, and then the what is it? That drill monster? What the hell's his name? Gabora.
Yeah, Gabora.
Is like its head splitting open, and then it has like the skull-looking head underneath. Like that feels very similar to like. Some of the angels from Evangelion. Like, it feels like there's a little bit of that DNA in there. You can see how connected they are to one another.
Well, I'm just going to say, if you think, like, if Shin Ultraman is Evangelion in aesthetics, then I think Shin Kamen Rider is more Evangelion in plot. But we'll get to it.
Which is very exciting to hear, because that could mean so many things. But yeah, and I think that just in general, like we talked about Shinchiguchi, like the monster stuff is just excellent. And I absolutely love this movie, and I can heartily recommend, if you want more of this stuff, go watch the Heisei Gamera movies.
Yeah, I should watch them.
They're all so good, and they're all good for like different reasons. Like they all have like a very unique charm to them. And yeah, just go listen to the Discuss All Monsters episodes about them.
Now on Internet Archive.
Yeah, thumbs up. Fuck you, Chuck Wendig. But no, that's all I want to say as far like I was charmed by the movie. I love the characters. I love the monsters and everything, and the action was great, and the CGI was like tastefully done. It just felt... I feel like it worked extra well because they did a good job of establishing that, like, Ultraman is... Like, this is just, like, a projection of him. So, like, in my head, I'm not thinking, like, oh, this is supposed to be, like, a big physical object. He's, like, a weird non-material thing and interacting with the material world. So, like, the moments where he's, like, flying around and he looks like a stationary Tsuburaya figure from 1966 flying around. Like, that didn't bother me because, like, in my head, I was just thinking of it that way.
Cool. It also just looks cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it just is, like, interesting. Like, and it makes it look, like, clearly...
alien.
Completely alien to, like, not just biologically, but, like, physically, like, as in, like, within the physics of reality. Like, it just seems so alien and so bizarre to how aerodynamics work and everything like that, and that's just so cool.
Yeah, there's just so much, like, I don't even think I've scratched the surface on why I love this movie, but, like, hey, I gotta stop somehow, and I just love like so much about this movie. I love the themes. I love the aesthetics. I love the characters. Like just all the little arcs. I need to mention this scene before we close out. The scene where where they have the world peace meeting on PlayStation VR.
Yeah,
that was amazing.
Yeah, that's great. Like I said, the characters are just that really stood out to me, which is good because I feel like that was a very charming cast in the original Ultraman show as well. And
like they didn't they didn't do beat for beat that original cast as we mentioned before, but they did capture the spirit of that cast.
Yeah, and like the main partner lady for Ultraman is like she's a very engaging, like a very entertaining character, and she just is like bursting with personality and charm.
Yeah,
and just like so many like funny moments with her and her like interactions with Ultraman, who is like weird emotionless alien guy not even trying to pretend to be human like in the original series, so it's just even funnier. So that's where a lot of the comedy and everything comes from, and it just like it works very well, and it's just like mixes together. It's just like Shin Godzilla. It's like a very easy to watch 2 hours.
Yeah.
So
you've become fond of Ultraman, Wyatt?
Yes, I have. You know what? I'm so fond that, like I said, I might crack open that Ultraman Gaia DVD set and start watching later tonight. Who knows?
Yeah. But yeah, I think we're gonna wrap up here. Next up, Shin Kamen Rider, the final part of this little mini series, because again we're not doing 3.0 plus 1.0 because that's a completely different series. I don't know why they keep counting it as the Shin Japan Heroes shit, but like whatever.
I guess because just all of the rebuild movies in general are like Shin Evangelion.
Yeah.
And that
was just the most recent one at the time. Yeah.
I'm not gonna. You can listen to our episode of that on Internet Archive with Hazel.
Yeah.
And we had a great discussion about that movie. Didn't necessarily enjoy it, but we had a good discussion about it.
I have still not seen the rebuilds past 1.0.
Yeah, 2.0 best one in my opinion, and then 4 is like 50% amazing, and then 50% just like unwatchable. But that's like kind of a controversial.
Before
yes, please make your own opinion because, like I said before, like friend of the show Toby Jones, huge fan of like the rebuild movies and specifically 4. I'll just say 4.
You're doing math.
Yeah.
But yeah, Wyatt, plug your stuff.
All right, go on over to Twitter and check out WazRanger, WAZP Ranger. Go on there and you can see so much fun stuff. Stream of consciousness. Less mental breakdowns about Metroid Prime 4 than recently because I've been in the middle of moving. Yeah, I've been in the middle of moving, so I've been distracted by real life, and kind of like getting that all under control. So I haven't been going on Family boards as often and like looking through the like rumors thread or the Metroid Prime 4 thread and seeing like, oh, Jeff Grubb said this thing at this time code on the podcast and blah blah blah. So less anxiety about that, but you can still see all the stuff talking about making videos, talking about podcasts and things that I'm doing, and just sharing opinions and whatever. And then if you want to go and listen to my stuff, go on over to patreon.com/itsonlymagic. Excuse me. At the $1 level, you get Shit Shooters, which is an off-topic podcast I do with some friends.
Like me.
And then, yes, like Buster, like Cody, like Wayne. And if you like Wayne, then check out, also for $1, Wow Cool Robot, where we review every robot in existence. We do it in like 5 to 10 minutes. And it can be Gur from Invader Zim, or it can be Gort from The Day the Earth Stood Still, or any of the 1 million different Gundams that we've done. And then at the $5 level, you get like Liquid Podcast Turbo a week early. You get my videos a week early. You get my main series podcasts, currently Doctors in Discuss, a week early. And maybe some more goodies. Maybe now that I'm all settled in to a new place, I can start like planning some like Patreon exclusive miniseries. But we'll see. Anyway, Buster, what about you?
Hi, I'm Buster Corp. You can find me on the Buster Corp YouTube channel, where I do whatever the hell I feel like. I don't know what videos are going up by the time this is up. But like, yeah, we have fun times there. And you know what else is not a fun time? Twitter.com. It's at BusterBlue3, where you can watch me. I don't know. I don't really have a recurring gag. I think I just say the word goon a lot because I find it a funny word.
Like G-U-D?
Yeah, like like G-O-O-D, like goon.
Oh, okay. Okay.
No, G-O-O-N, goon. Like,
okay.
Because I just like, I don't even care about that.
That is very funny.
It's just like, hey, Megamind and the Goon Syndicate. There, that's a recent tweet. That's what you can expect from the Buster Corp Twitter.
Yeah, sounds good.
But yeah, and I'm also on like Blue Sky, but I don't know. It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna do it for the second installment of Shin Bros. We'll see you next week with the final one.